to meet everyone who's joining here from a lot of different parts of the world. My name is Sadhana Gupta, and I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. I just want to make sure that everybody can see my screen here. So you can see the "we will start soon" screen. I hope so. Okay, awesome. Well, like I said, my name is Sadhana Gupta, and what we're going to be talking about today is something that only came to light, at least to me, a few years ago. And this was something that not a lot of people like to talk about. I realized it very late in my career, what I was going through, and I hope that we are able to indulge in a good conversation today. I really, really hope that this ends up changing or defining a moment in your life where it will help you excel further in your technological careers, whether or not it's product management. Before we dive into some, technical details of what I'm going to be talking about, I want to start our presentation with a simple question, right? So, take a moment of your time today during this presentation and think about what these words mean to you, right? I'm going to place them out on this presentation in a very dramatic fashion, right? 1, 2, and 3. Inadequate, deficient, and inferior. These three words have a very heavy connotation in a lot of different conversation, a lot of different context areas. And what I want us to think about is really, or, type it out in the chat if you have to, but think about what are some things that come to your mind when you hear these words, whoever it's coming from, if it's your colleague, your child, your partner, your boss, anyone around you, your parents even. Think about how that really adds onto your shoulders. Does it affect your personal life? Does it affect your professional life? Is there anything or anyone around you who has to face eventual consequences because someone called you one of these three words, right? So take about 5 to 6 seconds, try and remember a pace. While you're doing that, I can tell you that this is exactly what my brain tells me when I have to perform simple actions in my workplace. If you're a product manager, you might be able to relate with this. If you aren't, I'm sure you must have heard of these keywords. Every time I have to build a roadmap, I have to decide on resources. I have to create a PRD documentation. It's what we like to call a product requirement documentation. Or if I am talking simple things like if I'm talking to my designers about some proposals, right? These are the three words that I think about, and I feel like someone is calling me inadequate when I have to type out a documentation on what the next feature should look like. Being a product manager is obviously not easy, as it is not easy being any role in tech these days. It comes with a lot of decision making power. You are working with teams around the world. You're working with teams that are not even within your team. There's a lot of stakeholder communication involved. And because of that, what I like to call it is a dynamic role. So someday you're a firefighter, the other day you're just relaxing and watching a movie, right? And this role includes a lot of different areas like market research, even designing, creating strategies. Like I said, again, talking to people, market research, and of course, being a technical leader all around. Because of this, product managers specifically may experience what we like to call the inferiority complex. It's in a simple definition, what it means is that you feel very inferior to others around you. You think you're not enough, and you just don't have the power in you to create something that your brain has trained you. Like I was introduced, I got my master's degree from Carnegie Mellon. I got my bachelor's degree from a very renowned public university in Hong Kong. I am an all-rounder, right? And this is something that I used to believe when I was a child. And then I had a slack period in the middle where I was questioning everything. And now I'm back to being that loud Indian. But it's just something that I know for a fact that product managers relate with. And I'm very certain, just by talking to a lot of technical leaders and colleagues around the world, that this is something that they go through as well. So now that we've had a little time to talk about these three words, coming to the whole presentation or the little chat that we're going to have today, I'm calling it doubt to dominance. Just like the three words before, doubt and dominance are very heavy words. The reason why I chose this topic today is to try and understand that all of us come from very different journeys. In all of our experiences, we've had doubt creep in at different moments in our life, and the end of it is dominance. So I want us to look at the end of the tunnel and make sure that we know that we are not alone and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Right. So once again, good afternoon. I'm Sadhana Gupta. I am a senior product manager at Walmart. I am also a Carnegie Mellon alumni and a massive, massive advocate for women in technology. Presently, I'm in my nice little cozy apartment in Bentonville. It is raining today, so not the sunniest season for Bentonville, but I like it. It's a beautiful city to be in, and I moved here to the US about a year and a half ago now. I crossed all the oceans to move from Hong Kong to the US. I was the youngest product manager in my company for over 2 years. And I like to call myself the primary PM because I had to learn everything about product management from scratch and apply it in a new company, in a fintech company, in a city like Hong Kong. It's hustling and bustling with new landscape, new companies coming out. If you've ever been to the city, beautiful place to be, but it's also very, very pressurizing because of the amount of talent there is in the city. At a very young age, I was giving leadership like directions to senior engineers, senior managers, designers, working together with the senior leadership to put products out there that are revolutionary today. They have changed the game. And at that point, I was a very young and very curious girl. I had a lot of questions. I was breaking a lot of things. And once I sort of had a grip on what my role is, I began to question myself as things progressed in my company. I struggled with severe inferiority complex. In fact, when I realized it even more while I was building this presentation, right? And what I'm also going to talk about today is not just some of my personal stories, but also how I've moved on from that doubt to the dominance now I have at Walmart. And a big part of that journey was being a student at Carnegie Mellon. I'm sure you've heard of the university. I came from the business school, the Tepper School of Business, very well known for the amazing faculty and alumni. I have a lot to thank for the great benefits I was given, not just in terms of my career, but also in terms of helping me recognize what my true value is. There's a lot of knowledge out there in the world, and I hope that throughout our conversation today, we'll get to learn a little bit. So today I'm going to start the conversation for us not to change the way we think, but to live with it. Inferiority complex is something that human beings are born with. We are supposed to be narratives and we are supposed to have fun the way we work, although doubt always finds a way to creep in. So the way I like to talk about this is essentially a car that feels like it's running empty. Imagine you're driving on a highway or an interstate and you're just going, right? You're going at 70, 80 miles per hour and there's so much happening around you, but you don't care because you have to maintain that speed, right? You have to make sure that you don't make any sudden turns. You have to make sure you don't press on that brake suddenly. You just have to keep going. Now, to me, inferiority complex is exactly that, right? You're driving well. You're maintaining that speed. You know that there's nobody tailgating you. You know there's nobody who's going to come in suddenly and you're going to make a mistake. You know that because you've been a great driver all your life. But you feel like the car that you're driving may just suddenly stop. You don't know what's going to happen. There's so much uncertainty, right? And that brings me to my first point. Inferiority complex to me is the fact that you have the strengths, you know that you can get whatever you need because you've worked hard throughout your life, but they might just not be good enough. Technology is changing around us every single day. There's so much happening around us that I understand it can get very overwhelming, and it's just not enough sometimes. So it's embracing that uncertainty might just be our biggest strength. Thinking you're very close to failure, another another point that I've personally faced a lot. More recently at Walmart, I've been equipped with leading certain teams that is going to help add value to the Walmart business as a whole. But at the same time, I'm always thinking about, oh, what if one of these features just fails? We have so many different thousands of customers, and what if one of them, it just doesn't work and they end up complaining and it all comes back to the product manager? Well, that's okay, because it might not happen as well, right? So there's that uncertainty as well, that, oh my god, something is definitely going to happen. My mother always tells me that if everything is going extremely well, something is wrong. Life is full of uncertainty, and there's no point in trying to question what's going to fail next. As someone in technology, it's upon us and it's our responsibility to embrace the uncertainty around us. And what's important for us is to make sure that failure might happen, but we have to pick ourselves up and learn from it. The last point I like to talk about is, you don't trust yourself to complete the task efficiently. Being a product manager means working with a lot of different team members around you. It involves, like I said, engineers, designers, a lot of people. And it can get hard to not only trust others, but trust yourself. So, I mean, you know, you never know, is the car really the right car that I'm driving? Am I completely sure it's not going to break on me while I'm driving at 80 miles per hour on this interstate? So, being able to trust in yourself, I would say, is extremely important. Okay, I'm gonna stop. And I know I can't talk to you guys, which is, I would love to speak with you guys one on one, but I love this analogy. I know people talk about ice creams a lot. I myself am a big ice cream fan, but since I can't speak to you guys, I am gonna ask you to think about what's your favorite ice cream flavor, but think about what's your least favorite ice cream flavor. There's so many around: chocolate, mint chocolate, strawberry, banana sorbet, lemon sorbet, cookies and cream. These are all my favorites. While you guys are maybe adding into the chat or thinking about your least ice cream flavor, I know it's not something people think about often, but mine is butterscotch. It is a controversial topic. I know a lot of people enjoy butterscotch. My parents love it. My brother curses me every single day about the fact that I don't enjoy butterscotch. I come from India. That's why butterscotch is a massive, massive flavor. But I absolutely hate butterscotch, right? Now that you've had some time to think about your least favorite ice cream flavor, that's what I thought I was. When I was going through the inferiority complex a few years ago, and more recently as well, actually, um, I thought nobody liked me. When I was talking to individuals, be it my colleagues, classmates, family members, my partner, it was very difficult for me to understand that there are people out there who actually like my personality. And I know that's a weird thought to have, but think about it, right? I'm sure many people in the audience have thought of that. Um, Feeling that nobody is enjoying your content, or nobody thinks that you are worth it to write a product requirement document, is a terrible feeling to have. That is one of the symptoms of inferiority complex. And moving on to really diving down into exactly why this happens or exactly how it happens, I am going to play the round of technology experts versus inferiority complex. There are so many ways this happens. And we'll dive into a little bit about how it's kind of put out there in the workplaces as well. But starting out with, am I smart enough? PMs, specifically product managers, feel like they just don't have the enough knowledge or the expertise in a particular area. A lot of roles out there today in the technology segment require you to have what we call domain expertise. And it makes sense, right? You have trained your entire life to be a software developer. You must know how to code in Python. You have studied human computer interaction. You must know how to operate on Figma. You've studied product management. You must know how to create a product requirement document. You must know how to build your roadmap. But things are always constantly evolving. 10 years ago, we did not have Atlassian. We did not have online tools to write documentation. We did not have Copilot to help us debug our code. We did not have all the advances in technology that we have right now, right? And that's why it may feel like this is just not a familiar area for me. Um, Recently, when I moved into Walmart for my new role, it was a brand new team. It was something that I had never been a part of. I had never been a part of a multinational corporation such as Walmart. For a little bit of context, there are over 3 million employees in Walmart, which means even though my team is about 100 people, on a daily basis as a product manager, I have to keep over 200, actually over 300 people involved in the conversations or the decisions I'm making. So having the question of, oh my God, am I really smart enough to speak to like the VP of finance? I don't know, but you have to take that chance. Failure or lack of success. We are responsible for so many things in our daily workspaces. I can speak for myself as a product manager. I'm responsible for successful delivery of my product, for making sure that the customers are able to see value in everything that I'm creating. And if my product doesn't meet the expectations, it triggers a feeling of failure or inadequacy, that oh my God, I wasted the time and energy of so many people in this team and it just didn't end up working out. This is particularly challenging if I have invested so much time and effort into this in this feature. It works out for any other person in technology. The fear of failure or not having enough success can actually trigger up those feelings of inferiority complex. And right now we're just talking about how or why these feelings might come up. um, High expectations, another big one, right? You are, like I said, back in Hong Kong, I was the only product manager in my team, and my senior manager and all the other engineering managers and designers, as well as our CEO, I was working very closely with our CTO and CEO. They had very high expectations that yes, Sadhana is a 23-year-old recent graduate, and I'm pretty certain that she can run an entire product full of 20 developers and 5 designers. You have high expectations. Every person in technology these days has high expectations. That ended up making me feel like I have imposter syndrome, because I thought that, oh my God, there are people other than me in this company who definitely know this better than I do. Why am I the one who's been given so much responsibility? So that kind of added on to it, right? So, and that's what we like to call the imposter syndrome, that I'm just a recent graduate. Why am I given so much responsibility? The hidden fact I wasn't aware of, and we'll talk about that a little bit further down the line, is that I actually knew what I was doing, right? That's just a little hint of what's coming. But the last bit I want to talk about why this might happen is comparison. I know a lot of people who are joining this session, and I know other women who've been talking about this in the last few conversations that I've heard over in the conference. We tend to compare ourselves to literally everybody on this planet. We have, I mean, I come from India. If you've seen the population in that country, you'll be aware the competitiveness that stems out of every child. Um, Definitely doesn't help that the average population of the world is growing on a massive pace and is definitely not looking good for us. But what's also added on to it is the fact that it is a competitive landscape. If you're aware of the job market right now, it's tough out there, and it's not easy maintaining your status in the industries, right? You end up comparing yourself to your different colleagues, to your seniors, to your juniors, and you try to mimic their behavior. But what the difference is that when I'm creating a documents requirement versus when another product manager is creating a requirements document, we have different insights into the different areas. So we should be able to, understand that our work is never going to match someone else's, just like our expertise will never match someone else's expertise. The way this inferiority complex comes about in workplaces, and I have interesting stories around this. Number one, starting with onboarding. Like I said, I recently joined a role at Walmart, and onboarding is a tough part for a lot of newbies in the industry. When you're going through the interview process, you're extremely on point, you've studied everything, you're going through all the points, interacting on a daily basis with the recruiters and hiring managers. But now that you're in the company, you're hired, and it's day one, you don't know what to do, right? There's this weird awkwardness between you and your colleagues that you don't seem to understand. Am I bothering you too much? Should I really be asking this question? I mean, if I got through all the interviews, I feel like I should know the answer, but I'm not really sure because I don't actually know the goddamn answer, right? Onboarding is a tough challenge for a lot of different people. And one way an inferiority complex actually shows up in the workplace is during onboarding. You tend to assume what the next step is going to be. Um, I like to personally set expectations for 30, 60 to 90 days. But even during that, even when you've worked so hard on having a plan, plans don't always work out. And that leads to challenges during onboarding. New releases. Oh my God, the struggle of making sure a production deployment happens on time, it happens correctly without any bugs. Um, if a new release is delayed, I think, or at least I feel, and the way my inferiority complex comes about in a workplace is, oh my God, I should have made sure that the estimation on work was correct. I should have made sure that the timing was right. Maybe I should have had an additional call out of the 10,000 calls I already have, and that would have saved the release. Another example: international and large team decisions. Like I said, Walmart has over 2 to 3 million employees around the world. Half of my team right now is based overseas, and you have to make exceptions where you're communicating with them super early hours or super late hours. But even in those cases, you tend to have that feeling that, should I really be setting up a call this early in the morning? I can join because I'm totally okay sacrificing my sleep, but will anyone else from the team be able to join? These are the small instances we don't usually think about, but when you actually do sit down and try and understand what's going on, it's because there are large teams that are affecting your inferiority complex. Presenting to senior stakeholders, another common example of why or where your inferiority complex might come up. Creating your identity. Sometimes, for me to be able to show to the company that this is who I am the loud Indian in your team who is going to state opinions. Not everyone in the team is going to like it, but I have to think twice when joining a new team. Should I really be putting this out there? Should I really tell them what my true colors as a product manager are? You tend to shy up and quiet down and not talk a lot about yourself to the workmates because you're scared that they're not going to like you. Now, what I want to put out there is, if you feel that way, you are not alone. I am still very young in my career, and I know that there are a lot of women out there on this platform who are much more excited, much more experienced, and have a lot more to share than I do. I am courageous enough now, after a lot of years and a lot of training and a lot of kind words from a lot of individuals, to say that yes, I went through this pain and I faced a lot of challenges. I was not speaking up. I was not making, I was not adding value to anything in my career. I was getting shy. I was not asking questions. I wasn't even going out with my friends because I was always constantly stressed about, oh my God, I have an early morning meeting tomorrow. I have a release tomorrow. I have to answer this question. Even when I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about, did I make a mistake? Was there something wrong that happened? I just want to put it out there that I have been through this, and I can say from experience that a lot of my friends have gone through this, which means that you are not alone. If you have seen something like this before or felt through this, you are not alone, right? A lot of women out there go through this challenge, and women particularly feel this because psychologically, we have an innate nature of just feeling like we want to be liked, and there's nothing wrong with it. Everyone wants to be liked, everyone wants to get attention, everyone wants to make sure that they're praised for the work that they do. It's amazing. You should be, and everyone deserves that level of respect, right? Um, if you get a chance to read a little bit more about inferiority complex and the psychological nature behind it, you'll realize that there's a lot more to it, because historically not a lot of women were involved in technology. Even till date, it's just over a quarter of 100% of women that are actually hired for technological roles. The data disparity and just the gender disparity is still something that is not talked about enough or not implemented for a change enough. And that is something that kind of became natural for the women in tech right now, like something that has been going on for generation, and not feeling belonged almost seems normal to us, and that's what we have to change. So coming back to sort of, how that inferiority complex was projected by me, I started distancing myself from a lot of people. I was not involved in a lot of team meetings. I didn't raise up my voice, and it was simply because I did not want to be embarrassed. I was constantly thinking about what are some of the mistakes that I could potentially make. Am I really doing this right? There's no way, because there's no way I could be right. I mean, I only have a bachelor's and a master's degree. I've only worked in 3 countries, and I mean, clearly I'm not smart enough for that, right? So I was just I was just scared of being embarrassed. Every colleague around me was not, because I could see them raising their voices. My manager specifically pointed out in one of my quarterly reviews, Sadhana, I need you to go back to your annoying self. It's getting scary. I can get extremely annoying if you want me to be, but for some reason at this stage in my life, I was just scared. I was scared of stating opinions. I had a lot, and I was just hiding them deep down. I tried to find any opportunity where there were no people around me. I would secretly send a message to my developer like, okay, are you sure we can do this? Like, I think it should be done like this. Is that okay? And I was not even stating it out in the open. I was so underconfident. I had to hide myself away and secretly ask people on the side, like, do you think this is right? And it was right. Of course it was right. And it's something that I built. It's something that I started, and it was my baby, but I was not confident enough to talk about it, right? I was always trying to seek attention. This is controversial, right? Because people don't want to seem like they're attention seekers. It seems like a bad word in our society, but I was one, and I it's tough to talk about for a lot of people, but I've overcome that problem in my life, because I can now see how it affected my professional career. Any new change I made, simple things like editing a ticket on Jira, I would send it for review. I would ask my manager to look at every single change I was making. I was not confident enough to initiate that myself, or go to the development and design teams like, guys, this is a new idea I've been thinking about. What do you think? No, I need approval on that first. I wanted people to look at my work and be like, Sadhana, you did a good job. But I was not confident enough to make sure that things were getting done in the right way. I was extremely sensitive to the way the people perceived me. Any little disagreement in meetings would send a shiver down my throat. My heart would pace so much when I was supposed to present that I could not understand why this is happening. Why am I so scared? I was so sensitive to the way that people were reacting to my messages. Anytime someone asked me to change something, critique sessions, extremely important in a product business. Anytime, and of course, it's supposed to be a healthy critique that is important for the business to succeed. But anytime something that I worked on was questioned, not even changed, just questioned, like, Sadhana, why do you think this is happening? I could not answer. I was just stunned to talk, because I knew the answer, but I was just too scared of stating my opinion. Now, I know we can't talk to each other here, which is, oh, I wish we could. But take some time out today to think about, have you ever felt this inferior before. Inferiority complex can present in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be this particular way like I did. I've heard of women talk about the fact that they just stayed home. They didn't want to go to the office because they thought their clothing was incorrect. They thought the way they spoke was wrong, or they thought that if I show my face to people, they're going to start questioning me on things. I've heard my friends and colleagues tell me that I just don't think I can talk in a room full of men. It's what we like to call the man's club. And like I said, I've said this 100 times before, not one male colleague of mine has ever let me down. They're one of my strongest pillars of strength today. But when you only see men around you, a lot of my friends have been like, I'm just scared to talk to them because they talk about their own cool things and I just don't fit in. Well, you don't have to, because it's a workplace. You should be talking about work anyway. So if you're an employee and so are they, you can definitely talk about it. So take some time out today to think, or just enter it in the chat. Talk about if you've ever felt inferior, and more importantly, did you overcome it and how did you overcome it? Or embrace it. You don't always have to overcome that complex. You can just embrace it in your life and really work towards what you want to achieve.